Well, here we are, the start of the Sweet 16 with 4 games tonight. I've got a couple more complimentary plays coming your way. And of course, today is also the official opening of the baseball season. Now, why they didn't start the baseball season yesterday when the entire focus would have been on baseball is beyond me, but hey, they don't pay me the big bucks to make the schedule. I've got those complimentary plays coming your way in just a second. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager, DeMarcoSports.com. Before I do, a quick story coming up about baseball, and let's recap how the tournament has gone for me so far. As you know, here on the video report, I've been blessed. 35 and 10 roll with my last 45 complimentary plays in all sports combined, winning 15 of my last 17. And in the dance, I am 13 and 1. 13 and 1 with the freebies. Now, if you followed my bracket, which I had out the Sunday before the tournament started, and it was available here is with all the handicappers at the site, I hit 3 out of 4 in the first 4. The first round, I went 27 and 5. In the second round, I went 12 and 4. And that leads me going into the Sweet 16 with 13 of my 16 teams still alive. And more importantly, going into the Elite Eight, 7 of my 8 potential teams are still alive. And that, my friends, is a way you want to have your bracket shaping up going into this second week of action. Now, my only problem is, of course, my best bets over at DeMarcoSports.com. I only wish I was having quite as much of success because when they say 2 out of 3 ain't bad, well, my problem is the 2 out of 3, the third ain't doing good. Seriously. 3, 6, and 1 with my last 10 releases. 3, 6, and 1. Yeah, I know. Oh my God, he's talking about losers. You realize they're probably going to take away my handicapping card? But listen, you got to be able to talk about the losers as much about the winners. Okay, I'm going to get to those free plays in just a moment. Quick baseball story. I used to be a really big baseball fan. I am not a Cubs fan, by the way, but this hat, which I've had for a couple of decades, is my favorite hat. It's been through the ringer. It's got to go in the washer soon, too. I got to tell you that. But one of my favorite baseball stories. Well, this tells you how much of a diehard I used to be. Um, my friend, his father used to have a car dealership in suburban Philadelphia and used to give cars to Phillies players, 76ers players, NASCAR racers coming into the Poconos. So from the time I could start driving, they always needed guys to drive cars and valet them and shuttle them back and forth. So I was doing that 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day on a Saturday, making these long drives to Philadelphia or up to the Pocono Mountains, depending on who needed cars. But we always used to get free tickets. So we had this great idea, and it's like, hey, the Phillies are going to Wrigley Field. We had never been to Wrigley Field before. Let's go see the Phillies. So I think it was Lance Parrish, who was a catcher at the time for the Phillies. I think it was 1988. We decided, let's go get tickets. We got some from Lance Parrish. We're right there with the players and their wives and their girlfriends and their mistresses and sitting right there. So we literally left Philadelphia at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday and flew in. I think we ate at Ditka's, maybe at that. No, Harry Carey's it was. Ate there, went to the game, got to the Wrigley Field game. I have never sat at a baseball game where it was so damn hot and oppressive in terms of the humidity. Now, of course, I think this was like July, which prompted me to buy the hat because I had really long, thick hair at the time. And yeah, there was nothing that could do anything to stop the sweating there. But that wasn't the whole story. No, we had more baseball plans. We weren't there just to see the Phillies and the Cubs. No, because we left in the top of the eighth inning because we had tickets to go see the White Sox and the Brewers at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Boom, we left, we made it. We got there by the first inning. We did that on Friday. We did that on Saturday. Sunday, we did the Cubs Phillies again. And then we thought, hey, let's catch a minor league game in Appleton, Wisconsin, because we love the Appleton Foxes, I think it was. We love their hat, and we wanted to go buy a hat. There wasn't Amazon back then, guys. You know what I mean? So 6 ball games in 3 days, traveling back and forth between Wisconsin and Chicago, and sweating our ass off the entire time, which is where the hat came in. And literally got home to Philadelphia, I think at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and went and worked the overnight shift 11 to 7. Yeah, that's when I used to be a baseball fan. So anyway, let's get to your complimentary plays tonight. The first one is going to be Duke minus the, what are the Duke? Duke is minus 9.5 against Arizona. Now, these two met once earlier this season. It was at the McHale Center in Tucson, and Duke won that game rather easily, in fact. 69 to 55. Cooper Flagg had 16 of his 24 points in the second half. They held Arizona to 39.5% field goal shooting in that game. Arizona was only 26.1% on three-pointers in that game. They also owned the boards as well. Out rebounded them by 13 overall, had a 7+ margin on the offensive glass, too. Duke is coming off that blowout win against Baylor. Of course, you know what Arizona did against Oregon. Now, Caleb Love has played Duke 9 times in his career. And as Arizona goes, as Caleb Love goes. And being a former North Carolina standout, of course, now with Arizona, that's why he's played Duke so many times. It's an interesting thing here that Caleb Love in his career has averaged 15.8 points on 37.6% field goals, percentage shooting wise, in 9 career games against Duke. But if you extrapolate those numbers further and look at how Duke has played him in the last 4 meetings when Tyrese Proctor has been his primary defender, Love has only averaged 10.5 points and been held to 28% from the field. So that's one advantage for Duke tonight. Another is going to be that Duke is going to once again own the boards against this Arizona team. I think Duke is going to be able to shut down Arizona from three-point land, just like they did to Baylor this past weekend, a team that lives on the three-point line, held Baylor to 32% from three-pointers. So that's why I like Duke. And I know it's a big number, but the way Duke is playing right now, listen, I think you got to go and lay the number with the Blue Devils. The other play I like is Alabama. That is going to be the early game in Newark at the Prudential Center at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Bama is minus 5.5 against BYU. Now, I used the game between, I almost forgot who the hell was playing tonight, Maryland and Florida as my best bet tonight. I came very close to switching to the Alabama BYU game. However, if you get my play, you'll see I just am a firm believer that you go with your first inclination. And win or lose, you don't regret it. Because often when you hedge your bets, when you second guess yourself, it's almost like you're bound to lose. But Alabama, BYU, I really like this game. And I like the Crimson Tide in this game, minus the 5.5 points. I have watched BYU and these teams out west so much this year. Almost at BYU from the Mountain West Conference. Of course, they're in the Big 12 now. But I've watched them so much, and they played so damn well. 11-1 their last 12, the only loss coming against Houston. But I just think Alabama, in a game that many are predicting will go over the total, I don't agree with that. I just think Alabama has too much offense for BYU to counter in this game. And I don't think Alabama gets the credit it deserves. Now, the Tide doesn't play much defense, and Nate Oates has been on the team all week long about improving their defensive intensity, even getting reporters to question his team about their defense. Okay, I mean, a nice little coaching tactic. I agree. But let's also acknowledge the fact that if you go to kenpom.com, a site that I use all the time for handicapping, strength of schedule. Who played the toughest schedule in college basketball this season? Alabama. And who led all of college basketball in scoring this year? Alabama. Think about that. You played a monstrously tough SEC schedule. You did not shy away from anybody in non-conference play. Hell, you beat Houston, right? And yet you still put points on the board. You put 80 points on the board against St. Mary's, and I think that was a season high that the Gales allowed. Now, different style of play. St. Mary's wanted to slow down the tempo. BYU does not play at Alabama's pace. And I believe that Alabama will be able to get on some runs here that BYU will not be able to answer. Alabama, I think, is a more physical team up front. BYU has bigger guards, but nobody said those guards could shoot that well. I think this is a damn cheap price with Alabama. minus the 5.5. So Alabama would be number one, and Duke would be number two for your top two complimentary plays for this Thursday card. Wish you well, guys. And oh, and I looked at the baseball card and I can't really say, and listen, it's a long season. I will have plenty of free selections in baseball. I considered the Padres with Michael King, but Chris Sale had a hell of a spring training. In his starts, 20 strikeouts, 0 walks. I mean, pretty damn impressive. I considered the Angels on the run line because I think the White Sox are going to suck. So those were the two games I thought about. Maybe the Brewers plus $1.10 against the Yankees, but I can live another day and wait rather than die on the sword on the first day in baseball. So anyway, we'll talk about that more as the season progresses. Good luck, everybody, and we'll talk again soon.